Hey yo, it's a brand new week and you're back with the Table Talk Podcast, aka Table. Table. Yeah. It's us.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Hey guys, you are in a brand new week and congratulations, you woke up alive.
Oh man.
Because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't want to
why
watch
would they be
this
listening
one.
this?
I'm sorry, that took a
my
dark turn real
God.
quick. Anyway, today at the table we've got the two lovely ladies that are with us for their internship, and we decided to make this the intern episode.
Because you guys have seemed to really like the fact that random people are appearing on the podcast more and more.
It's great.
You guys all feel like, wow, I really feel like for some reason, instead of like two familiar voices, like the more people come on, it really feels like you're hanging out with friends.
It does.
Just come hang out with us.
Either we sound really relational or we don't sound like a podcast at all. So I don't know.
I think that's a great place to be. It seems like just a talk with friends, and then we'll purposely leave like some gaps for you to respond to us.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah. They like to
Nice.
vibe
Right,
with us.
that's right.
Great
oh
point.
my gosh.
At the table with us today, we have again two lovely ladies. Let's start alphabetically.
Oh,
Introduce yourself, your name, and what you're doing.
Hi guys, I am Bella and I'm intern for core/blank slate. Kind of a
right.
hybrid here.
yeah,
It's true. It's true.
yeah, that is true.
And how long have you been with us already?
2 months going into 3.
What do you say is your natural given God talent?
Oh wow, you gotta hit me with that, right?
Yeah, right out.
I think
3, 2, 1.
writing.
Oh,
It is
wow,
true. Belle's a really good writer.
That's good,
She's
that's
really
good.
good.
Okay,
All right,
great.
next.
Next up.
Hello,
Too far away from the mic, Sam.
Hello.
Oh my goodness.
I'm Sammy, Samantha.
And
Call
Okay.
it what you want. I'm an intern at Blank Slate.
Yes.
I've been here for about a month.
But you were also here.
Oh yes, I was here 2 years ago
Oh, wow.
at Core Studios when I
Was
was
it
about
really 3
19.
years
Yeah.
ago?
That's crazy. Time flies when you're
Okay,
having
what
fun.
is your God given / great talent that you're bestowing to mankind? Go.
Sleeping.
Okay.
No.
Anywhere,
Love it.
I think
anytime.
It doesn't help me.
Let's not bring that up. I know what you're thinking of.
Okay. To each their own. If you feel that's valuable, props to you. That's
Good
great.
rest.
So
You need
bad.
rest.
Oh my goodness.
Today we're talking about a topic that you guys have voted on the Instagram stories. I think we're gonna start doing this a bit more regularly because then you guys have control about what we're talking about.
But also when you guys vote, right, it kind of like overlaps into some stuff we talked about before. So
Yeah.
hey, it's okay. Friends talk about stuff over and over again.
It's true. We literally had this conversation before we started because we were a bit afraid it would be like, we kind of talked about that.
Since we're on a note that we all kind of know each other already, and so let's
Yeah.
just relax and talk about
It's
it.
true. There's always new angles and new learnings. That's what I always say. I
It's
never
just-
say that.
This is just giving ourselves reasons, and Maxine's at the
We're
back there like,
justifying our emotions.
we told you about this already. Just keep the
It's true.
we're gonna try
It's
to keep the
true.
topic.
Today we're talking about being emotional
Versus,
not being emotional. What's the real topic?
Actually, no. The real topic was actually like an emotional person being versus a non-emotional person, something like
that's
that.
No.
That's a yike.
Person and to
Okay,
control.
okay. So
versus,
let's frame that
sure.
again. Mia, can you say it again?
What's up your emotions? Yes or no?
No.
Emotions. Yes.
This
versus
happens a lot, guys.
being an emotional person and controlling your emotions.
I love that.
That's
Thank
right.
you so
Good
much.
Lord.
Let's start off with some stories about the past week. Let's recount and retell
Oi.
the last time you felt you were slightly a bit more emotional in the past 7 days. Let's start alphabetically. Belle, you're up.
have to
Yeah.
go this
I mean,
route.
yeah.
Good or bad? It can be good or bad. It's fine.
Good or bad emotions. I guess for me, I would consider myself an emotional person.
For sure.
Right?
Like your vibe just screams
Yes.
emotional.
All day, every day.
It's soft. It's soft here.
What?
I guess like being even like in the workplace, sometimes you can get a bit you can get a bit anxious and get a bit
Love it.
overwhelmed sometimes by work and by the people around you sometimes, but not exactly in a bad way. But I just tend to like to reflect on things more than the ordinary person, which can get a bit
It's
get a bit
dangerous. Overthinking
unhealthy.
is it's
That's
true.
right. Yeah.
Alright.
Was there a specific thing that you can that you're okay with sharing with us in the past 7 days
That made you emotional.
that you feel like, oh yeah, that was an emotional spike?
7 days. We've been working from home, guys.
Yeah. I mean,
A lot
you
of
can
things,
be
I'm
emotional
emotional
anywhere.
every other hour.
All right. I guess like sometimes when you feel like you can't connect with the other person at a level where you
Who are you
want
connecting
to.
with at home?
I mean, like with colleagues in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Colleagues
You want to drop some
Great,
names?
Yeah.
great.
Oh,
Jamson is.
Hey!
Is he there? Sorry.
we always go back to Jamson.
I haven't seen him in quite a while. Where is Jamson?
He's the object of desire in the
Love
office.
it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you felt a bit of like, help.
Yeah,
it?
like sometimes you get a bit out of connection with the people around you, so
Yeah,
it makes me personally like overthink about things. Like
Okay.
being an intern, you're afraid to like say some things,
Yeah, yeah.
right? If you're an intern, you relate.
Of
But
course.
that kind of makes your mind turn a bit like, how do you respond to this person? How do you where's the boundaries? So it can make you feel a bit overwhelmed by the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah.
So I get that's me.
Okay.
Past 7 days. Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Sam.
Past 7 days.
Great.
We don't even need to talk about 7 days of Sam. What about the
Short
last
timeline.
2 days?
That was 7 minutes.
How's the past 2 days been for you, Sam? Oh my god. Oh Lord.
Should
heaven.
cry.
Oh Lord.
That's the whole
heaven.
podcast.
Oh, okay. Well, when was the last clear emotional time that you've been through?
Clear. I think it's been like an ongoing thing. Like I am a very emotional person.
Oh, you guys are the perfect people for
I
this
am.
podcast.
Right.
I'm emotional about everything, but it's not like I cry about everything.
Okay.
I'm very sensitive to my feelings. I'm very
Yeah.
self-aware about my feelings, and I'm very emotional about other people's feelings.
Okay,
Like if
okay.
I hear that you are struggling with something, I will start crying. not cry lah. Okay, like maybe just I will feel it too. Like
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very intact with emotions, whether it's mine or
Yeah.
other
So like
people's.
in my mind right now, you're standing outside the toilet door, like, hey, you inside okay or not? I can't. It's stomachache. Then you just start crying outside.
I was
Okay,
literally
maybe
gonna say
stomach
that.
ache is not a really emotional
it's
thing.
not coming
It's
out.
also struggling. It's also struggling.
She's an empath, right? That's what
Yeah,
people
a
call it.
high level.
And then you
Yeah.
squat outside the toilet and you start shitting outside. Now that
That's
is
relating to a new level.
No,
Too much.
let's
Too
not.
much.
Was there a specific one in this past that you can kind of highlight or say, oh, that was a moment?
oh man.
I think it's a very like personal thing I'm dealing with. Like it's like an ongoing.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to
Like-
share if you don't want to.
No, it's just
But
like
you should.
Yeah.
You can. People
okay.
like the spicy stuff. I give you
I
2
think you're in
minutes.
a
Go.
rough spot.
I think just this year in itself has been very tough for a lot of people.
Oh.
Like
Right,
emotionally.
right,
Sure. We're gonna
And
dive
just-
into that a little bit later,
Yeah,
Sam.
Okay. So just wrap up the whole year in this sentence. Sure.
Crazy.
Okay.
Mingan, I'll go first.
Yeah,
Mingan,
yeah.
Mingan's got an emotional past few 24
I'm
hours,
just an
man.
emotional
Alright.
person all the time.
For me, recent one, this past 2 weeks have been crazy in particular because we're hitting to 11/11, and 11/11 is every marketing.
Oh, yikes.
D-Day.
If you're in marketing and creative and advertising,
It is the
it's,
day
it's D-Day,
of
and
the day.
it's so hectic.
Hey.
There was this day last week where I felt so overwhelmed.
Oi.
I when you
Blood
see
from the
memes and it
anus.
says literally couldn't, right? I literally couldn't. And so I knew it got to a point that it was bad because anxiety started to kick in. And the last time I had anxiety was in February. And so I was like, okay, this is bad. So I took myself out of my situation and I just went for a haircut because I just needed to like disconnect for a while. And so that was a moment. And after coming back, breathing, I'm like, okay, how can I better deal with this situation now with like a breather? So that was my big moment. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
it was on Friday last week. Yeah, cool.
So we
yeah.
talk about management. Literally, that was good management, but we'll come back to that in a bit.
Emotional moment, man.
Emotional moment.
Let's go with the happy one if you want, because we've
Yeah.
just been talking smack, dude.
I was gonna say that I
Sad
think more
moment.
often than not, I'm not an overly emotional person, unless I like for negative emotions.
Yep.
But I do feel very emotional when it comes to my kid Haley.
Yep.
So there are moments that I just feel like, oh my Lord, I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life, love
Yep.
you forever, and like I'm gonna walk in down the aisle and I'm gonna kill the
I
guy.
also love her
That guy,
forever.
yeah. I mean, I get very emotional
Sorry,
when there
what?
are moments that, like for example, when I put her to sleep and I just look at her and I pray for her and I'm just like, oh my Lord, what did I do to deserve
Right.
you?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can love a little human being that doesn't know what you're doing 80% of the time. And I get very emotional. I'm just like, oh my Lord.
Do
Now
you-
I'm gonna start crying.
Okay, what is happening?
That's not the reason why. Have you ever like have you ever just started crying in moments like that?
Oh,
I think there was once.
Okay.
There was once
Can you share
that
with us?
she finally, after being at home for like 2 months during MCO, right?
Yeah.
She finally chose me instead of Suyen.
Wow.
Because up until then, right, she will always run to Suyen
Yes,
first.
of course.
So like, oh wow, that was rough, man. That day, I remember, I can't remember what was that, but I was very close to tears. But I'm not the kind of tears person.
Okay.
And also, in general, this is my standard of emotional management,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I just busted my ear. I'm kind of like deaf in left ear right now, right? So I have a perforated eardrum.
That's crazy.
And what really stood out to me was, in the middle of the night, I woke up 5 o'clock in the morning. My ear was leaking all kinds of things, right?
Oh,
and
sweet
it felt
heavens.
like, it just was like, it felt like my left ear was underwater.
Yeah.
I was not phased at all. It was like, okay, I have an ear camera downstairs. I'm going to go get it. So I got an ear camera.
shucks.
I stuck it into my ear. I'm like, wow, that does not look like my ear right
Is
now.
that blood and stuff?
It was just swollen all the way through.
Oh,
My eardrum
shucks.
looked like it was on the other side of my
Wow,
ear.
I want a picture.
Yeah, I can actually take a picture for you. I did not take a picture of it. I am a bit worried for
Yeah.
this, but you know what? Everyone likes what they like.
Yeah.
And you know what really stood out to me was I was more shocked at the fact I wasn't so shocked that I had a ruptured eardrum and I couldn't hear. Literally, there was one moment I was snapping my fingers here,
Couldn't hear a thing.
and it felt
That's
like
so scary.
you were underwater trying to snap your fingers, right? I was more shocked at the fact that I immediately arrived at the point where like I think I can live the rest of my life with one ear. I'm pretty okay with this.
That's
What?
I arrived at that really fast. I'm like, I just did some math in my head. I'm like, 1 year, yeah, I can do this. I probably could just continue living. At least I got 1 year to live out of. I was like, it just went from like 0 to 100 back to 0 really quick.
insane.
So my emotional management for negative emotions is pretty like, okay,
It's pretty high.
1 year, I'll just wait. But I did stay up like from about 5 onwards just to see if like, it got better. It got a bit better. The pain went down and I'm like, guess I won't be deaf. And then, yeah, that was yesterday. So
I need that kind
just-
of positivity in my life.
No, because I do know people, right? If you get up in the middle of the night and your ear is leaking shit, right? They are going to freak out and like fly to the ER immediately, right?
Yeah.
But I think after, I don't know, I just don't tend to react to negative emotions that much because
Yeah.
I go into the coping mechanism immediately instead of
Wow.
that.
We
But
love
hey,
that.
that is that. It's weird. I think I'm more unprepared to react to positive emotions than I am prepared to react to negative
Yeah,
emotions.
and there are people like that. So I think we've got a pretty good mix at the table today.
Right.
Sam and Belle, you guys are how old?
22.
I always,
Yes.
wow, ladies.
And honestly, I we make fun of it and we laugh about it, but there is a very big it's a very big gap in the way we think, even at this table.
just
Yeah.
the gap of years is enough.
I mean,
lah.
yeah, the years is one
Just saying
thing.
it now. Oh
Like
my
almost
lord.
like there's almost a decade from
I
youngest to
finished
oldest.
primary
at this
school, they
table.
just enter,
Yeah.
kindergarten.
Shit.
Yeah, it's true.
That's how big the gap is, guys.
But
Oh
it's,
my
about that.
God.
I feel like your generation,
Yeah,
your
okay,
people.
I hate
Yeah.
my generation.
What? Okay, we'll
never
talk about
mind.
that later.
People, our people.
You guys are a lot more aware and in touch with your emotions and feelings,
yeah.
and it's a cascading thing because for us, right? I think we're pretty in touch with our emotions compared to our parents, right? And so like the gap becomes even further if we talk about your grandparents, who maybe
Yeah.
in their lives don't only know emotion angry.
That's it.
And
I
that's
smack
it.
you as I love you.
That's it. Like
Yeah.
our
Smack you.
grandparents,
The
emotional
generation,
spectrum.
I love you.
the liberty to be emotional is getting more and more each generation.
Yeah,
that passes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But on that point, I don't know whether we'll pivot this to this in the future, right? But I've always been very, very intrigued by the fact that you see our parent generation, right? And the fact that we always tell them like, wow, you all don't know how to feel feelings and everything, right? Really, they are probably the generation or one of the last generations, right? That are super unbothered by anxiety and stress and
Yeah.
depression. Like, my auntie can be going through depression. She just keeps on doing what she does, Like, there's really no... I would say like, it's not that it's healthy, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
okay?
it's not healthy.
But they do not let it affect their lives as much as our generations have started letting it affecting their lives.
Again, we don't want to downplay like emotional and mental health. But for them, right, if they were tired and sad and depressed or they broke up, right, dude, it's
they wake up and business as
correct.
usual
They
tomorrow.
still need to go to the
Taufa.
jungle and dig for roots to eat.
Yeah.
For us, right, the minute something sad happens, like
My
our
life is
favorite show
over.
ends, I shut down and then I sleep the whole day.
And then like, I'm sorry guys, I can't manage. My K-drama just ended.
Yeah,
I can't manage right now.
We're
And,
privileged.
Love
We are
it.
privileged,
Yeah.
right?
And
I think let's
that?
Entitled and-
let's start and frame the whole conversation that we're about to have with the understanding and acknowledgement on our
Yeah.
part
Oh, yeah.
that we are privileged and we are entitled
Definitely.
And
to,
we are
to
not-
letting
yeah.
Sorry, great.
We're not downplaying
We're not
negative,
downplaying it,
negative
yeah.
emotions,
Yeah.
yeah? We're not downplaying if anyone is going through emotional, extreme emotional
Correct.
situations. Like, I mean, it's not emotional, just mental health. We're not downplaying that, okay?
Yeah, we don't want to say that. So, okay, let's jump right into it. We're at the 15-minute mark right now.
Where we just left at, right, was something I think I remember very, very, very clearly talking about, I think just a couple of weeks ago, because there were some conversations with some people. And when we talk about managing emotions, right, people always think there is this, it's the after management. But there is a very, I feel that where I think why negative emotions to me are like quite easily done most of the time. I'm not perfect freaking. I have stressful moments. But I want to talk about this. I mean, I want to discuss this issue called emotional robust. Being robust emotionally. Like resilience, emotional resilience, right? And that's what I feel we just talked about our grandparents and our parents. Their generation, you have to be resilient no matter what. Like no one gives you the option of like, tell me how you feel.
You think the communists allowed them to be sad at the mines?
Ooh.
No!
The
They
teeth.
didn't!
Yeah, and I really feel it was such a weird paradigm shift when it came to our generation, because our generation promotes so much mental health, but it seems that everyone's resilience to problems is like worse.
Yeah.
You know, we love the fact that, hey, let me choose what I want to be, let me choose what I want to label myself, the freedom, everything is there, and our parents never had this freedom.
Yeah.
But why are our parents' generation so much more resilient to emotional swings compared to ours? What do you think? Discuss.
Oh, wow.
25 marker.
I feel like I agree because I've seen, I do feel like, my sister is 12. My sister's 10. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Oh
Rachel.
my gosh.
My sister's 10. So we have like a 12 years gap.
Don't do this to
I
yourself.
have no connection with your sister at all. I have none whatsoever. Oh
That's
my
like a whole Gen Z
God.
thing,
I probably
right?
speak a
But
different language.
yeah,
Anyway,
that's
yes.
right. They are open to so many more things outside, like with YouTube, right? Just with YouTube, they're open with so many outside things and they're being educated with so much more things. But on the flip side, right, they are more empathic, but because I feel like things are too easily reachable to them and even us, like the millennials.
Hey, no, actually, you guys aren't considered
We're
millennials,
not.
you know.
'Cause
My
we're actually-
generation
yeah.
is millennials.
Oh, so
We're
we're
actually
Gen
Gen
Z.
Z.
You are Gen Z.
Oh,
oh,
unfortunately.
shock
I'm so sorry.
and revelation.
A revelation.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so I think like that's one thing because we don't have as much those kind of barriers our parents, grandparents faced before us, but we have the societal, that's why every time we pivot to societal issues, because that's where our pressure comes from.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess we're just more in touch with and aware of our emotions and how
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
But do you think that being in touch with your emotions is really not equal to managing your emotions?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's true.
Right? Because
true.
I was in a very interesting part of this shift into mental health awareness, right? Like right before mental health awareness really kicked in, I was doing my degree.
Right.
And really the more it kicked in, the more I'm like, okay, everyone expects, okay, everyone's so in touch with it right now, the result should be good. But more and more and more, people don't know what they're doing, right? Why do you think so?
I think social media plays a really big
I was
part
gonna
in
say.
it. I have a love-hate relationship with it. Like,
Right.
yeah, it's great and all. Like, you get to document your life and stuff. But I feel like people have taken it too far and feel the need to justify each other's feelings, like their emotions and stuff.
yeah,
Like, if you post that you're angry, your friends will reply your story and be like, "Oh my god, what a
Yeah.
beep."
Yeah.
Like,
I like
or
that.
like, what a
What kind of friends
bleep.
do you have? You can't change friends, Samantha.
No, I'm talking about
sorry.
other friends. Like I see
Yeah, your ex-friends.
them,
Ooh.
like they feel the need to post their emotions online. Like
Yeah.
it could be a coping mechanism for some.
Shout out to
It's a
Twitter.
good outlet, but I feel like people are abusing that privilege
Right.
of
Yeah.
justifying each other's feelings. Like say like,
it's true.
oh, this person hurt my feelings, and you're gonna like bash them online.
Yeah.
You do that technically because you want people to agree that they are.
Correct. Yeah.
The validation factor.
Yeah,
The
and I feel
validation
like
factor.
in terms of like justifying emotions, I feel like people abuse that
Yeah,
privilege.
I mean, that's perfectly put. Like, everything you just said has become the common occurrence to dealing with emotions now, right?
Yeah.
Like people set up alternate Instagram accounts, Twitter
Yeah.
accounts, just to rant about things. And I mean, it's great because, you know, they will say, oh, freedom of voice,
Yeah,
freedom
because,
of speech.
because last time you can have
True.
your personal blog, right?
Yeah.
And no
Yeah,
one
yeah.
will read it one.
Yeah.
But nowadays, right, everyone's general stuff is everywhere. You need separate accounts
Yeah.
or that release online.
Correct.
I mean, like, I don't know what happened to
I think
personal
what Sam
journeys, but
said
yeah.
is very true about the validation part. Because if you really wanted to like express your emotions, all that, right? Write in your diary. Like who is like
Tell
why
your
why
mom.
you have to put
Yeah,
why
because-
you want to put into a
Because
private account and then
there's-
let some people follow you.
Because
Like
there's this validation factor.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
People
correct.
like
It's
to
true.
like, you wonder.
Yeah. I mean, we're not saying
I'll
it's
say that's
wrong.
true.
We're
Yeah,
not
it's
saying
not
it's
wrong.
wrong.
It's not wrong.
I think
Everyone
for me,
has their different
I rant on
outlets.
Twitter
Yeah.
tons of times. I mean, Twitter, I haven't used it in years, but recently this year I just got on just
I
to
freaking love
just
Twitter.
to complain
Yeah.
about life.
Twitter
Right?
is the king.
I don't have Twitter.
But I think Minghan
You
made a
need
very
Twitter.
good Minghan made a very good point earlier on. He said being self-aware and being aware of emotions does not equate to managing emotions.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we just talked about is actually, I would say, is the first step, right?
Yeah.
Because how good you are at managing emotions is where you set your baseline for like, your emotional validation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If some of you guys are like, huh, what do you mean? Let me paint you a clearer picture. All right. Your house is flooding.
Okay.
Knowing that your house is flooding does not equate you to make it less flooded. You need to do something about
Where is
it.
my house?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. If you are fat like me, knowing that you're fat like me doesn't equate to change happening.
Why are all of you suddenly getting affected by this? Okay.
You're just emotional. Knowing that you're
It is
fat
what it is.
is different
yeah.
from doing something about
Yeah.
it.
Knowing you're fat isn't losing the fat.
Correct. Yes, that's me. So I've had enough knowing. It's time to do something about
How
it.
many years have you
Wow.
known?
Like too many years. Right?
Okay, I see.
So there's a
sad.
difference there. There's a difference. And I'm again, if y'all are triggered by this and be like, you're fat shaming, shut your mouth.
No, talking about himself.
I'm talking about myself.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so don't get emotional. All right, shibbles. Back to the conversation. Minghan, you were saying something about
Yeah.
dealing with.
I think
emotions.
what really set us apart from literally all that you guys talked about with our parents' generation ourselves is that the amount of people we're connected to, right? I think social media was never intended for basic human function because
Yeah.
we cannot handle so many connections.
Correct.
As a person, as the mammals that we are built with, right? Mammal herds, right? Even though they move in like 50s or 100s, right?
Yeah.
We only have connections to like 5 or 10.
Yeah.
Right? And today, how many friends do you have on Facebook or on Instagram?
1,000, man.
I don't really
I want to
care.
vomit. Right? How many people do you follow on Twitter? Just enough.
1,000. I follow 1,000.
500.
I don't have Twitter.
Oh, damn. Yeah. I think the problem starts when the biggest difference is something like, you know, the comedian Dave Chappelle, right? I love the guy. The things that he says is like, just shout out Dave Chappelle if you're ever listening to this.
What?
I just want to say like, I
Okay,
just love you.
thanks.
Just come to KL. But one thing that he said was like, the generation of our parents, they were taught how to care. Very, very precisely care. And today, we cannot even care about one Amazon burning down. The Notre Dame, what does it? Notre Dame burns down next. Someone else gets bombed. Another place gets bombed. Someone else gets killed. We don't have enough time to invest emotions properly. And that's just, we don't know how to care. Like we care about the wrong things, number one. And then the number two part, which is more dangerous that I feel is, we look for emotional validation in very wrong places. For people who
Yeah.
literally don't care about you.
Yep.
So you see how those two things interact? Like you don't have real upkeep of emotions because you are expressing emotions to people who literally don't care, and that's your baseline for managing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's why we're all pretty messed up because like, oh, I think I acted on my mental health, but why isn't it working? Then you think you did something wrong, and then you snowball down.
It spirals.
Yeah.
And then you try again, and then something wrong, then snowball down.
Yeah.
And then all the psychologists is like, I come to our help. Why are you going to Twitter for your emotional mental health care? You know, that kind of thing. But I think it's really the fact that we don't know how to care properly about things in general, equals we don't know how to care about our own emotions and managing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you don't know what the baseline is supposed to be for, like, number one, what's the proper term for, like, being stressed?
Health.
Or, like, what is the proper, like, oh, I'm actually depressed? Because everyone is like, I tell you, because we all went through it. The first year of psychology is basically, we diagnose ourselves with every single disorder out there.
Shit.
I have 5 friends at the end of the second week. I think we have schizophrenia. I'm like, yeah. You know, like I think knowing the problem is our problem. What is our problem actually? You know, and everyone gets too emotional about it. And it is very, very dangerous thing about managing emotions and stuff like that, right? It's called the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Right? You actually might not even have that situation, but you convince yourself
You give
have
yourself
it,
power
right?
to let it happen.
How many people that you know, right? They're just having a sad day, and
They call it depression.
I'm so
Yeah.
depressed, and then they repeat it, and then suddenly in about 2 months, right? They're actually clinically depressed,
that's
right?
Yeah.
So like, is that proper management? I'm not sure. And if you feel like you're depressed, why are you writing Instagram stories about
correct.
it?
But then that's why people say, like, people who are depressed or mentally ill, they can't walk out of their own minds, which is really true. They can't walk out of that frame of their situation.
But you see, that's very different as well, because if you're not resilient emotionally, you feel like you can't walk out of anything.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Right?
True.
So there's a lot of factors in play, and I think like, okay, just if anyone is feeling like you can't walk out anything, please Google the Befrienders. There are many good places online, get help, reach out, talk to a friend. But yeah, I think that's the interesting thing to talk about, because we are always talking about how do we grow our mental health, how do we get better mental health, how we manage it.
Yeah.
Maybe the starting point is like, how do you know you have a problem, or how do you know you need to deal with something? Because everyone can say they're depressed nowadays.
Correct. I read online on this article. I cannot remember, but I need to dig it up. Right. It was basically talking about, the writer spoke about how we are so comfortable and are drawn to labels like anxiety and depression and, I mean, whatever you want to call it, right? We are so drawn to these labels because it's almost like a safety blanket. It's become a reason it's easy to put these labels on ourselves and then explain to somebody, oh, I can't do this because I have this. Right? And it's easy to do that. So again, not discounting people who actually have these things, but I realize that it is true. Sometimes to get out of a difficult situation, you just say, oh, I have this. Right? Like for example, when you were back in high school and then your teacher asks you why you never run like 10 rounds on the field, then you just say, I got asthma. You actually don't. Maybe you cough one time in the past week, right? But it's things like that, that because mental health and the way you perceive emotions for yourself is so subjective, nobody can say yes or no to you in that matter, right? So in that sense, it's easy for you to just kind of let yourself off the hook. And honestly, again, it comes back to you as a person, whether you feel privileged or entitled, that I don't need to do this. I'm feeling stressed out, don't talk to me. And we have people like that in our lives, right?
I think that comes down to, like she said, about our generation having a lot of resources to, like, let's say social media. A lot of people post like how to know you're depressed. Like, that kind of visual. Let's say I'm having a bad day, I read it, I'm like, oh, am I depressed?
You know how dangerous that is?
Yeah.
Because it's the same concept as, I'm sorry, I'm going to piss a lot of people off. Oh, I'm a Leo.
Oh, sweet Lord.
I'm a Virgo.
It's no excuse, guys.
That's my sign.
That's why I'm like that. No,
so that's called a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
by the way,
that's right. That's right.
Maybe on this note is a good time to like just bring our parents back into this again, right? What do you think made our parents so different when they had a bad day compared to us?
I think circumstances didn't allow them to feel.
Yeah,
Right.
there was
Which is-
responsibility,
Right. And don't you think that's such an interesting thing to talk about? Because these days, when we tell someone who's sad, right, hey, buck up.
Wow. Trigger.
What happens?
Yeah.
Trigger warning, man.
On
Social media
immediately,
rant.
screenshot. You see, this guy didn't care about my
Gaslighting
emotional,
me.
right? So maybe here's a good question. When it comes to management, right? When you feel sad, let's just talk. Don't take stress, okay? Let's talk about down days. If you want to talk about management, what's your first action when you feel like, I think I'm depressed?
Wow.
What is your first?
Wow,
what's the
so
first thing
fast
you do?
already there.
I think, firstly, obviously, there's one thing to feel your sadness, but it's another thing to allow yourself to become sad.
But most people do, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and I feel like that you have to find an outlet. Yeah, like some people they go for like sports.
Sniffing glue. Oh.
Some
Right.
people like, for me personally, whoa.
Yeah.
In terms of,
Love it.
Okay.
I think when you start feeling sad, you have to figure out what works for you. Like different things work for different people. And no, ranting on social media is not the best one.
It actually fuels it.
But the thing is, everyone does it. So okay, so an action step for you, first thing that comes to your mind is an outlet. Do you have a different approach to it? What do you guys approach to it? If you, let's say, okay, like from you, stress, anxiety, let's get out, do something about it.
Yeah, same.
Right?
I think for me, it depends on the emotion. If I'm sad, usually, for me personally, it would be my relationship with God. Like I'll just blast worship music in my room and I'm like, okay, I'm sad. And now I'll be like, okay, there's no reason to be sad. Like, move on, like, you know, that kind of thing. Okay. If I'm angry, it'll be more of like a physical outlet. Like, I play tennis. So I'll call my coach, I'll be like, I'm gonna go whack some balls.
Then the coach is like, Samantha, it's 2 o'clock at night. I can't do it.
I'm like, let's go play now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely finding what works for you.
Belle, what about you?
I think I'm still on the unhealthier side to dealing with this because I tend to like stop the emotions once I feel it. So once I feel like overwhelmed or stressed, I'll stop it and I'll like do something to distract myself.
Yeah.
And then
do you revisit it later?
It gathers and then I burst.
Explode.
Okay.
But not in anger. I burst in just like
overwhelmed,
like too much, and I'll just burst.
Minghan, what about you?
I think when it comes to emotions, maybe the unhealthy part of it is I really feel that if there's something that I've inherited from like the past generations of it, I really don't think twice about being sad or stuff. I have a baseline of like it's easier to always figure out how to manage to be sad or down. And just keep going. So same, I don't really. This was something my mom taught me actually. Don't glorify the problem. A lot of people glorify it, and then the snowball comes where you start talking about it, and then like this whole thing where people think it's cathartic. Sometimes they're doing the wrong thing, and they amplify the problem. Then they build it bigger than it's supposed to be. So my first reaction is don't make a big deal of it.
Yeah.
All right. Then I mean, of course, across the along the way, you find out which things are the real big deal to be a big deal about. But my first reaction is like my ear. Number one, freaking out about it is not going to help me about it. Right. Then immediately I go into management mode lah. Like, okay, what do I do if this happens? If this happens, so like that action steps to think about. Okay, so immediately in my mind I was like, okay, first thing clinic opens, I'll just go to a clinic. I got panicking now is not going to do me any good.
Right.
And in my mind, if I do want to panic, just go to the ER.
Yeah.
You know, so like, what are the immediate things I
like
can do?
do something about it.
But you see, those are physical steps. Like we can't really say the same things when it comes to emotions. Because when you're emotional, you don't think straight.
I agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think then it comes down to who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
I know sometimes it is hard to go and see friends when you're feeling that way. But if you have friends that you trust and hold you accountable to those emotions, because if you're going to sit there with a group of friends and you're going to be like, oh, this person like
and everyone just adds
and
fuel to the fire.
And they're like, yeah, oh my gosh, and
So
but you need
nobody
friends.
does anything about it.
Yeah,
Right?
no one like that doesn't help anyone. You're just gonna make yourself more angry
Yeah.
because you're like, that's true.
So everything you guys just mentioned of how you guys deal with like emotion, right? Similar. I'm a mix of all of you as well. I think actually, again, maybe it's the generation and age thing. A lot of younger friends who I have always end up with, if there's a problem and it's overwhelming, the process of thought ends there. It's like, help, I cannot already. But for me, like, let's give it some terms, right? Like the way you blast worship music, the way you disconnect and distract yourself from Minghan, and myself as well. Like if I'm feeling really stressed, sometimes what I'll do is I'll turn on like an episode of New Girl or Brooklyn 99. Then I mean, you call it a distraction. I think in working terms, I call it the pattern interrupt, right? Because you're sad, you're in that zone. And your train is going straight. What you always need to do to break out of it is something that is not a part of that nature, right? So whether it's to do a physical activity, whether it's to do something else entirely, you need to. That's why even breathing is a pattern interrupt, because you're focusing your attention somewhere else rather than the emotion. So once you have the pattern interrupt, whether it's singing a song, whether it's exercise, doing something that wasn't in the previous behavior, breaks your attention to the emotion. So once that happens, right, for me it was, last week it was going to cut my hair. Obviously, I wouldn't have done that if I was just kind of like, oh, I'm sad shit, I'm stressed out, right? But then after that, immediately, I do what Ming Han does. I like when I was saying just now, a lot of people sometimes let the problem overwhelm them. I think sometimes we forget in the emotion, and if you don't break your pattern, right, you forget that actually you're a human being with the mental capacity that is higher than any other living thing right now on Earth, right? And that means our key feature as being human beings, right, is problem solving. Like what Ming Han did about his ear, right, was like he could have just laid down in bed and be like, oh, I'm going to die. But he did actionable steps. He went downstairs. He was resourceful enough to turn on his computer, get his shit together, right? And those are like, I mean, we say that, oh, it's a bit hard when it comes to emotions. Not really, actually. Because if you map out the issue, for me, okay, in particular, I'll just use my case. I was so overwhelmed with like some stuff that I had to do, and everything was happening at the same time. Timelines were like intercrossing. That's why I felt the anxiety. I was like, oh my goodness, am I not going to be able to deliver good work on this one? Like things were just happening so much, right? So I broke the pattern. I went and cut my hair, and during like when I was getting my hair cut, I formulated a plan to solve it. Right? And it was actually after when I thought about it, just like, hey, I just needed to communicate this, and this. Yeah. And then I cannot handle everything, ma. Yeah. So that's why I have a team, right? And so I feel like with emotions as well, if it's stress or anxiety or even sadness emotionally, right, there is a thing that can be done about it.
Yeah.
It may not be an immediate solve. You cannot get over heartbreak in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But there is something you can do about it, whether it's to distance yourself from the relationship, whether it's to unfollow that person, right? There are things that can be done, but we don't see it if we don't come out from the pattern.
So don't romanticize your pain.
People may think like, oh, getting a haircut, you're just like, don't want to think about it. Yeah. But that haircut, you sitting there for like 20 minutes allows you to put everything into perspective.
Correct.
So just go out, like take a walk.
Yeah.
Even just that pattern breaking, like you said, helps you clear your mind.
Yeah. So maybe like to wrap it up, like this one is definitely a wrap up session right now. First, foremost, managing emotions.
You want
right?
some pads on this?
No, the people will get emotional listening to it. Number one is, I think we have to identify the emotion that we are going through first. Because it's really no use if you don't know what you're going through and then you just fail about it. I mean, not all the time you're going to get it right, but try to understand why you're feeling the way you are, right? Now, that's great. And I think the second one that I think we talked about is don't over glorify it. Okay,
don't glorify. I love that.
Don't scratch the itch to get validation. All right, because a lot of people immediately take to social media, take to whatever you have, and then you amplify your own problem. So make sure you're not like, I guess, not making such a big deal out of it because you want to feel pity.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe that's what really set our generation with our grandparents and parents. Like they have no room for pity. No one is going to slow down to pity them because everyone else has something to do. And I think the one that flows right from that is we talked about friends, right? I know a lot of people who enter new friend groups because they just want people to agree with them.
Oh.
And yeah, it feels great when people validate and like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I feel so bad for you. I really want to help you. You don't realize that is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is also amplifying your problem because these guys don't know you. This new bunch of people, they don't know the real thing. They only know the story that you've told them.
Yeah.
Correct.
And more often than not, it's not safe. So get the kind of friends that will tell it to your face, that will be there for you properly as well, right? And then the last one was, I think is a great thing, is like the pattern breaking, right? The really good, and this is actually a really good proper step, if you are feeling overwhelmed, get out of the situation.
Yes.
I mean, it not all the time, in the middle of work, you say, boss, I got to go home,
No,
sorry.
no, not like that.
1 hour, I'm out. But you need to know what will break the pattern. If you are, for example, breaking down, trying to practice a piano piece, stop playing the piano.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else and do something else. If you're breaking down trying to understand the math formula, stop doing it. Do this thing called parallel processing, which is basically do something else and that makes you not think about it at all.
Yes.
Like if I don't know, if we're working on work and stuff like that, something that really doesn't let me think about it is playing a game.
Yes,
play a game or watch something on Netflix, right? Because your brain has this uncanny ability to do background processing.
Yeah, your subconscious.
Right?
Yeah.
You let your 70% of your brain work on it now. Instead of your 30% that's stressing out. 20% stressing out. And that's really it. Know the problem. Management, you can't manage something you don't know anything about. So educate yourself, know your problem, surround yourself with proper people who can help you. and then just break the pattern, because you don't snowball it, guys. Don't glorify your problems, because you know that whole thing about like the whole struggle between the good wolf and the bad wolf inside, you know, that this whole native African American proverb or something like that. Yeah, the wolf that grows and wins is the wolf that you feed. And more often than not, people think they're feeding the good wolf. You're not. You know, when you talk about like this, that, glorify it the wrong way, the bad wolf wins, because that's all you're focusing on, right? That's my wrap up for it. Do you guys have any notes to end up?
Let's end the note, girls, with some actionable steps that you want to try to do in the next week. That you feel, you know what, I want to get a grip a little bit more and be in control of a situation that might turn bad. What's something that you feel you can walk away with
Alphabetical
today?
order.
Oh, wow. Let's go back to Bella.
Rider.
I love it. I think for me, my pattern is I always fall back to fear. It rules a lot of my emotions. So what I always do is I reality check for myself, is that I don't get too comfortable in your situations. Don't fall in love with your fear. I tend to always think like, oh, I'm being a perfectionist. I'm being like, you know, I'm in control of what I'm doing, but I'm not. You know, I have to come in terms that is my perfectionism, my fear, and my, you know, my anxiety is rolling up into this monster that I'm constantly feeding, which is not healthy. So just really do a vibe check, as Raj said last week. Do a vibe check, man.
So
do a vibe check from time to time, and just let yourself feel emotions.
Sam?
Yeah, I think... Oh, I had something. My brain just completely... I think as someone very emotional, and obviously I feel like anxious when I have a lot to do, I have fear about going into something new and all that kind of stuff. I think one thing that someone told me this year specifically was choose your battles.
Love it.
There's a lot going on, you know, in your life, and if you care about people that you love, like you obviously feel their emotions and stuff. So choose your battles. Like if it's something you cannot control, don't waste all your energy, you know, your anxiety and all that, worrying or like being angry at that person who you cannot like, if this person truly believes something that like is wrong, who are you to be like, it's not right.
I mean,
they're not gonna care.
Managing emotions is managing your own emotions.
Correct. You can't manage other people's emotions. The ball's your court. It cannot be in the other court.
That's right.
So definitely choose your battles. Like when you're angry at something someone did, like pattern break, go for a walk and be like, okay, actually it has nothing to do with me.
Correct.
It's like, okay, it upset me, it has nothing to do with me.
What can I do about it?
I'ma just move on.
Correct.
Yeah.
I love it. Guys, I hope you guys took away something from today's podcast. It was a deep one, a heavy one. If you guys want to share with us your thoughts on the matter, please share it on Instagram and tag us, The Takeaway Table, and we love to hear from you guys. Let us know what else you want us to talk about, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast. If you want to get caught up with all our latest podcasts, check out Spotify and YouTube on The Takeaway Table, as well as the brand new content coming to you on The Main Thing. Get also caught up to Head Over Heels with Maggie and the new season. We will see you guys in the next one.
Thanks so much, Sam and Bella, for joining us.
Thank you so much. And keep those butts clean. See ya.
Bye.